Well done, Chris, my man. It's always good to be... What are you doing? Sorry. For those of you that couldn't see it, Chris just about ate dirt trying to get here.
Hey, man, I'm not going to leave you hanging. It's the ultimate land, water, and RV show, and I can't have my ultimate experts out here.
Oh,
leave them
man,
hanging.
that was amazing. That was great. Thank you so much for going through, talking a little bit about newbies.
Yeah.
One of the things that, oftentimes isn't talked about right out of the gate, right, is RV maintenance. And it's something that is going to be important because, as we've talked about before, Chris, at one point or another, it's going to have to happen.
You're going to need
it.
Yeah, you're going to need it. And so many people are experiencing the RV lifestyle, and so many people who already know about the RV lifestyle know how important maintenance is, which is why we brought Rick and Brent to join us today. Guys, welcome to the Ultimate Land, Water, and RV Show. How you guys feeling?
Feeling great. Thank you for having us.
Yeah? Are you guys ready to talk about some service and maintenance?
Absolutely.
Sure. Right. And before we even get started, I think it's very important for everybody to know the best thing you can do when it comes to servicing your RV, especially when you're talking about bringing it to a dealership, manage the expectations and communicate. Yes. Talk to the tech writers, talk to the service folks, and more importantly, make sure all of your contact information is there. Because if you only leave one phone number, no email, that really limits how people might respond to you. So
correct.
Make sure that happens. And
especially if it's a home phone, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you might be out in the yard. Guess what? You just missed a call from a tech writer, and there are a lot of people with their RVs there getting service. So they will try to get back to you, but you just got to have patience and get all your information there. Now, we are also, if you got any questions, please just drop them in the comments down below. We'll try to get to them as best we can. But
yeah.
Big Dog, I know you've been around the block more times than the postman when it comes to, what to do properly with the RV and how to maintain it. So why don't you take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chris. And I actually do have a few questions here. And one of them is that right off the bat is one I get often, right? Especially people that are new to RVing. They go in for the first time for maintenance, haven't had to have it in the shop before. And that question is, why does it take so long for my RV to be serviced, right? Like a lot of people, they think it's going to be quick like their automobile, like their car. And oftentimes that's just not how it is. Brent, why don't you pick it up, kind of tell us why that is?
Right. Well, that is good because we see that every day. And, branching off what Chris said earlier, make sure that if you're comfortable with texting, whatever form of communication you're comfortable with, please let us know. I know that our service writers update their email daily. Mm-hmm. And so if you're comfortable with email, cell phone, text, please make sure that we have that information and the way you prefer to be contacted.
Yeah.
That offers us the best possibility to get back with you, to inform you about what we found on your repairs.
Sure, because sometimes it's a split-minute decision, right? You find something, you need to know if they want it fixed or not.
Absolutely right. So, they bring an RV into me.
Yep.
I'm going to look at it, and remember, when you bring an RV into an RV shop, an RV is a house combined with a vehicle,
right,
combined with a tent, combined with whatever, all these things put together in this one apparatus, right? So Rick and I have to be able to look at your plumbing.
Right.
We don't call a separate plumber to come in. We have to look at your electrical.
Right.
12 volt and 110 AC electricity. We have to be carpenters. Look at the woodwork.
Right.
That's in it. We have to deal with mechanics, such as axles. We have to deal with tires. We have to be your tire man. All those things. Remember, I'm looking at all those things. When you give me a list that you want repaired, I'm looking at all those things. So that in itself takes a bit of time for me to work through, each of those scenarios.
Yeah, all those systems.
Right. So then let's say that I figure out what's going on. I've got a list of things. Let's say that we need a part. Okay, I give that information to my service writer, and when you buy a Ford, let's say you buy a Ford vehicle,
right?
You go to a Ford dealership owned by the manufacturer, owned by Ford. The manufacturer, Ford, supplies Ford parts to the Ford dealer.
That checks out. Yep.
Well, when you bring me your Coleman trailer, I do not have Coleman specifically supplying every Coleman part to me to fix every single thing that's wrong with your Coleman trailer.
Right, because we have so many brands out there, so many different manufacturers.
Correct.
And they just don't supply them.
Right. So then my service writer gets your work order from me, sees the parts that are needed, then they begin the process of trying to get those parts from Coleman.
And a lot of them are handmade once the order's placed, right? Isn't that usually the case in some scenarios?
Right. It depends on what they've stocked. You know, we may have to wait on an appliance to be built. We may have to wait on cabinetry to be cut and put together. Well, depending on what we need.
Well, that makes sense on model year, right? Because if it's 2-3 years old, chances are it has different cabinetry than what they're running in the shop currently.
Right.
Exactly.
The manufacturers change every year. And Rick, you had mentioned earlier, or Brent, you had mentioned earlier, even like mid-year changes.
Yeah,
Rick,
and they also will change runs in the middle, so we have to wait for cabinetry or something. They have to get back to those cabinets that they were making at that time, you know, or fiberglass products, things like that. So that's why it can also take a lot of time.
Right. So even though we try to be as efficient as possible in getting those parts ordered, we experience delays as far as getting the part actually in our hands to get it on your RV.
Okay.
So we ask that you please be patient with us in that regard.
Also, I would suggest to give the service writers the most amount of details that they can. Tell them where they were camping, what they were plugged into, what the weather was like. Because if you're experiencing air conditioning problems, it might be the power that you're plugged into, or it might be temperature or something like that. So there's a lot of factors, and they need to know all the information they can possibly have, and that will save sometimes the customer money and time if we have the details ahead of time. You know,
But, and that makes sense, because I've actually talked to people before, and they're like, why won't my AC work? I have AC power. I'm like, well, what are you plugged into? And then you find out, it's just an extension cord from their house.
Yeah,
and
the neighbor's driveway.
There's the problem. Excellent. Well, thank you guys a lot. Again, that's something we hear often, and I think just kind of having that expectation will definitely help.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and to his point, the diagnosis, I mean, this isn't an episode of House. We don't have somebody that's going to be able to guess it. You got to bring as much information so that our specialists can diagnose everything that you got. And the patience. I think patience is key.
Awesome. Here's another one. This is a good one, because I've seen it a lot on Instagram, on Pinterest, right? More and more people are renovating RVs. We have the new design center now, in a lot of our stores specifically for that, because a lot of people want what they want, right? They want to customize it. They want to change it. But the question is, I'm renovating my RV this summer. Is my warranty still intact if I replace things inside? Ooh. Rick?
It shouldn't affect the warranty if it's not something that you replaced. If you've replaced, of course, the manufacturer's not going to cover anything that you replace. But if it's an appliance warranty or something like that, that won't affect it. And your manufacturing warranty is usually 1 year typically, and I don't know how many people are renovating in the first year.
Sure.
And if after that, if it's extended warranty, then extended warranty doesn't care what the decor looks like or whatever. They're going to cover that appliance, and we'll try to get the appliance covered the best we can,
That to me is why the Good Sam ESP, the extended warranty plan, and the additional coverage is so important, because not only of things that may happen, but because of scenarios like that. You're eventually going to want to swap some stuff out.
Yeah, and some of the appliances can be very costly to replace, so that might cover that service plan, cost in the long run.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's worth it. Yeah. Brent, you want to add anything to that?
Right. And well, that goes along with kind of, I think the overall theme of this is communication. If you feel like you have done something that's going to invalidate your warranty, call us.
Yeah, right.
Let us know. Let us help you figure out what to do. Okay? If you're afraid that you've done something, and you need our help, let us help you.
Boys, I ripped the bunks out and I put a pool in. Now I got water damage. I need y'all to fix it for me.
Right. And
a hot tub on the roof.
And we'll do what we can, okay? To help you get repaired what you need repaired and get covered by whatever warranty we're able to get it covered by. Just let us know. Be upfront with us. I've done this, I've done that. What can we do?
Right.
And we're in the business of getting you back out camping. So that's in our best interest to have you camping and not stuck at our store. So just let us know.
Spot on.
Love it. All right. Another one, when we talk about, I guess, some of the things that people worry about, one of them is a tire blowout, right? So This one, and I've experienced this before, so I have a little bit to say here too, but can I change a tire by myself? And do I need roadside assistance?
Well, I know that Rick here has actually had a personal experience with that, so I'll direct that question to him.
Or for some odd reason, I have lots of tire problems over the years, and I'm very keen to tire pressure and new tires, but still haunts me. But I personally had Class C, and I bought the roadside assistance for myself because you're not going to be able to change a tire on a Class C motorhome on the side of the road. You're not probably not going to have a jack big enough to lift that kind of weight.
Yep.
And then you're not going to be able to break those lug nuts loose. And you really don't want to be on the side of the interstate with tractor trailers flying by and trying to do that. Now, if you got a travel trailer and you got the proper equipment, surely you can change your tire. And I suggest people bringing stuff for that. But I definitely, like I said, I can change tires, and I've got roadside assistance. Because also, if you have a blowout, it could cause some serious damage to a unit, and you might need to get that unit towed. You might not be able to just throw a tire on it and go. So I would also recommend to people to really pay attention to their tires, the age of their tires, the condition of their tires.
And how often would you recommend changing the tires?
Every 7 years at least. Even if they look bad. Now, one misconception a lot of people have is that a lot of the tires, they're looking for tread wear. They say on my car, I go up there, my tire's looking bald, it's time for new tires.
Right.
Well, a lot of their RVs don't get that kind of mileage on them. So you're looking for dry rot and age, because you might not even notice the dry rot, but you want to, make sure that tire, because if that tire sits around for a long time, it's not doing what it's designed to do.
Right.
It's going to deteriorate. You might not even see it.
So what I'm hearing is we should probably get tire covers. If you
yes,
RV.
store it with
those
tire
kind
covers
of the
on.
best things to have?
Absolutely. And then, two, they suggest if you're on concrete and stuff like that, for storing it for a period of time, drive it up on some pieces of plastic or some wood, so the acids in the concrete don't affect your rubber tires sitting there in that one spot for a long time.
Yep.
Really?
That's good.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, I mean, that's why they're specialists, and I fall down hills.
Fall down hills. And for people that don't know, right? I mean, there should be a date code on your tire if you need to see the age of it, just to help identify that a little bit easier.
Right. Don't neglect your tires.
Yeah.
Don't put them in a storage, don't set your RV in a storage shed. And this goes for the whole RV besides just tires.
Yeah.
You can't leave your RV in a storage shed for months on end and expect just to drag it immediately out and everything be like you left it months ago.
Yep.
That's
not how it works.
That's not going to happen.
That's not how it works.
You don't forget about your investment. You've spent a lot of money buying this RV. You need to spend some time and money to keep it nice, to keep everything working like it should. I've seen worse things happen to RVs from non-use than I've seen things happen from them being used. So just the main thing is, don't forget you have a set of tires. Don't forget that you've got this RV, sitting in this storage lot.
And don't forget that just because it's sitting there, you still need to check it out. Just because it might be covered up and everything's good, away from the elements, there's still deterioration that happens. That's a great point.
And this is perfect. It actually leads me into this next question we just got, which is, what maintenance do I need to do every year? You pull it out, or you store it, whatever it may be. There's some preventative maintenance, some things we can do. Brent, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. Well, the main thing that I see from customers is that they neglect to check the sealant around the RV.
Okay.
You have caulking all around the sides, all on the roof. Every seam, every hole that's cut on the roof has caulking around it to prevent water from getting inside.
The number one enemy.
Water intrusion is the worst RV enemy that I see on a consistent basis. And it's usually simply from neglect. If a customer would watch and look, on a monthly basis, check those things, then they would know when something is starting to go wrong.
Yes.
When your ceiling starts to get damp, when your wallpaper starts to peel, you'll know before you go in there and the wall's on the floor.
Yeah.
Or it smells like mildew, or you have mold gets inside.
Which is extremely unhealthy too, not to mention damaging to the RV.
Incredibly unhealthy. Incredibly unhealthy.
You may not even know it's in there.
Right, for such a simple thing as caulking.
Another thing I'd like to touch on that is if you have a motor coach or say a toy hauler with a generator, make sure you run that generator once a month.
Yes.
Exercise that generator.
Yep.
A lot of the generators out there are gasoline generators, and with ethanol in the gas, it doesn't last very long. So you need to get it out, put some, if you're going to go out there, even if it's a storage unit, go out there, run it, turn the AC on, put a load on it, let it run 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, exercise it. Exercise your units and get them out there and move them as much as possible. I
like exercise the units. I guess the same would probably ring true for the batteries then as well, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Battery maintenance is a big thing that many customers overlook because they don't think about it. It's just sitting there. They don't really even think the importance of it. With these new fifth wheels and things like that, with all the electronics, 6-point leveling, touch pads in there, they have to have good battery voltage to work properly. And you don't want to get to your storage unit or your campground and you can't get the slides out and things like that because you have neglected your batteries. Battery life on those things, typically 3 to 5 years with proper maintenance, but keep them clean, keep them charged. If you have to, take it home, put it on a trickle charger occasionally when you go back out there, put it in, but also be very careful when you're working with, some of these units have multiple battery setup. You got to know how the wiring is and how it goes back. And it can be dangerous if, like on the fifth wheels, a lot of them are under a compartment area.
Right.
And setting off spark by hooking a battery up backwards. Batteries can also blow up in your face and stuff like that.
Burn the line.
You don't feel comfortable bringing it into, a shop and let them inspect your batteries.
It's a great point.
And I get the question a lot, how should I store, when I do put my RV in storage, what should I do with the batteries?
Yeah.
The answer to that is if you have a battery disconnect on your RV and you're not plugging it into power at the storage unit, if you're not plugging into 110 AC power, you should disconnect that battery. The battery is going to suffer a draw off of it just sitting there.
Yeah.
If you don't disconnect it.
About 2 weeks, it'll drain down.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Right.
That's
so
quick.
So if you're not plugging into power, disconnect your battery. If you don't have a battery disconnect, take the negative wire off of the battery. Very simple to do.
Yeah.
And that will help maintain the life of your battery. Now, if you are plugging into power, let's say you have a storage unit where you have access to power.
Right.
Then you want to leave that plugged in and your converter will then maintain the charge of your battery.
That's nice.
But then again, that brings me back around to the first point I had where you don't neglect your system.
Yep.
Because with that battery plugged in and that converter doing the charging, it's a constant source of heat. Heat is depleting your battery constantly. So in a month, you need to check that battery and make sure it's got the proper fluid levels in it.
Okay. Great tips.
Honey, I plugged it in back in January. Well, it's June.
Good.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Well, and Brent, I know in the beginning of this, we talked a little bit about water, right? And that's the biggest enemy. Is there anything that people should be doing on their roof? I know I hear a lot of people talk about it. It's, kind of high up there.
Right. Well, a lot of people aren't comfortable getting on a roof.
Right.
And that's fine. That's why I have a job. I'm glad to get on your roof. And in fact, any RV that gets pulled into my bay to get worked on gets the roof looked at. I don't care if it's on the list or not.
Okay.
Because I know that it's something that a lot of people struggle with or that they just forget about. So I'm happy to get on your roof and inspect it for you and let you know if there are any problems up there. And a lot of times I can handle a problem with the roof the same day.
Okay.
We can call you up and I can say, hey, you need your sealant redone on your roof. And I can get that handled within a few hours normally. So anyway, don't be afraid if you have a problem with your roof or if you're not able to look at your roof like we suggest, call us.
Okay.
Again, communicate with us.
Yep, that's the biggest.
That you need help with your roof, and then we will do our best to get your roof looked at and get it taken care of. So yeah, the main thing on a roof is the caulking. A lot of people actually damage their roofs and don't know it. You've got a beautiful campground like this. Sometimes you run under a low branch and you can actually damage your roof and people don't know it.
Yeah.
And so they come to me for something else and I tell them, hey, do you know you've got a large hole in your roof? And they're like, no, I
had no clue.
I didn't. That is not something you want to hear.
I didn't know that. But it's good that we can catch it.
Yes.
And get it handled for you. So please, if you're not able or don't want to get on your roof, just let us know. We can handle it.
I would also say, make sure you use the right sealant. You don't want to go to Home Depot and get some silicone put on your roof because that doesn't stick. So you're not doing any help by sealing over cracks or gaps with the improper sealant. So make sure you get roof lap sealant if you're going to get up there yourself and touch up some areas. Just make sure you're using the proper materials.
How often should we get up there and check the roof and reseal?
I'd say 3-4 times a year. Get up there and of course everything's not going to need to be resealed at that point, but you're going to need to look at it because that stuff with the temperature changes and the sun, it's going to dry, it's going to split, it's going to gap. So likewise, if you had your unit into the dealership and we did a roof seal or a spot roof seal on it, maybe 6 months ago, it's possible it needs some more again. So, don't be surprised. You don't want to, neglect that and think that people are just trying to upsell you on something. Right. It could very well be.
Ounce of prevention, pound of cure type of thing.
Right. Yeah. Caulking is very cheap compared to what it costs to replace your roof.
Yes. That is a very valid point. Very valid point. Now, and would you guys recommend a checklist of sorts, when putting it away for the season, bringing it back out?
Yeah, I would say it'd be good for people to put together a good checklist of what they need to look at the next time they get it out.
Right.
And have a checklist. Now, of course, you're probably going to have a checklist of what you need supplies you need to restock up on.
Right.
What we used up last time.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
And so just add that to your list. Hey, I need to, next time I get out here, I need to look at the roof or the batteries. Another thing, people should try to take their unit out for a little, like if they're going to go on a long trip, especially. Say you got a big trip planned out west. Mm-hmm. Well, you want to take it out and do a little dry run at your local campground or something like that. Make sure everything's up to speed, especially once you've had it in storage. And do that plenty of time before your trip, so that way, in case there's a problem,
you got time to fix it.
Get into the dealership, we can get parts or whatever.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
We actually have a little video out there now on the Camper World and Gander YouTube pages about, start 6 months out if you can.
Yep.
And it leads up to a week before, a day before, that type of thing. Because if there is something wrong with the generator, going back to the parts piece, you never know.
Yeah. Could be a bit. Excuse me. So here's another good one, and we hit on this a little bit earlier. It says, does Camping World have stuff for renovating RVs? Which, as we hit on with the Design Center, right,
sure.
Chris?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And then
best.
One of the other parts is, can someone at the dealership help me install it, or do I have to do it DIY?
No, we can. Yeah, I've helped lots of people with recliners. Say they want to take a dinette out and put a recliner or 2 recliners or a different style couch. Yeah, we've done all that, and we know how to do those things. Again, just communicate with us.
Right.
Just let us know what you have. Let us know get the measurements of the area. If you already have the piece, get the measurements of the piece. Just the more information, like Rick said earlier, the more information you can give us, the better we can help you.
Yeah, and I would say if you're gonna renovate, if you're gonna do that, get the furniture, get the equipment from Camping World or Gander, because you don't want to come in there with a sectional that's 1,300 pounds and you can't even get it through the door, and now you're 5,000-pound Coleman. You can't even tow anymore. So, you want to make sure you get the pieces from us because they're made for the RVs.
And if some of it comes in wrong or damaged, then we can handle that, address that. Or if you got it somewhere else,
right,
help you with that.
Right.
We also can do custom work, like a lot of people these days are like and build out Sprinter vans, and they might want to do some of the stuff DIY, but they don't know, how to do it all.
Right.
So, we can do different sections of that, like we've done tanks, installs, electrical, things like that. So you might be a good carpenter and you want to do the cabinets and the bed and stuff like that yourself, but you don't feel comfortable with the inverter or the batteries and things like that, we can do all that too. So.
You could take my 82 Scotty and help me turn it into a recording studio?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, no, that's cool. That's a great point, right? And as I said, with all the renovating we've seen, and the vans are very common, knowing that they don't have to necessarily do all of it, right? If they can, let's say they're not comfortable with electric, they can bring it in and get it done. That's fantastic.
Yeah, right. It's a big help.
Here's another good one. Looking at motorhomes, says, how many miles can I drive before getting my oil changed in my Class C? And what if it was in storage? Does this change?
I'd say about every 5,000 miles, or if it was in storage and you hadn't put 5,000 miles on it, about once a year, you want to change that oil. When you're, if a lot of people are bringing it in because they, can't do a Class C at their home these days. But, it's something that needs to be done annually at least. But every 5,000 miles, I'd say, changing that oil. And don't forget the generator oil change.
Right.
So you want to do that too.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And also, let's say you have a towable. Don't forget the oil change in your towable, which is the wheel bearing pack.
Ah, yes. I'm glad you bring that up.
You're dragging that RV behind your vehicle,
right?
And the oil that you need to change in the trailer is the wheel bearings. So the manufacturers normally recommend 1 year or 12,000 miles, somewhere in that 10 to 12,000 for those wheel bearings,
right?
Or once a year. So don't neglect those. And the smaller your axles are, the more often you need to change. If your axles are larger, you have more grease in the axle.
Makes sense.
So it lasts longer. You can go a few more thousand miles in a larger axle RV.
Right.
But so don't forget that. A lot of blowouts are caused by overheating bearings.
Yeah, I was going to say replacing a bearing is not fun.
No.
And that's definitely not one you want to do on your own.
Thing on that, a lot of trailers these days have Zerk fittings on the axles, usually behind a rubber boot or something.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, every time they go out, they pump 2 or 3 pumps of grease in there. That's not doing any good either, because it's just packing it by the back seal, and you get too much grease in there and it gets hot and starts slinging all out of it. So too much grease is also bad.
Okay.
It actually blows the seal out.
Yeah. So taking them physically apart and physically packing them is the way you want to do it, and put new seals on.
Right. Okay. That's great to know.
Yeah, no, I have heard that actually, that a lot of times we find that on the axles, the people think they're doing good and just pumping way too much grease in there.
Right. I know it seems convenient. It seems wonderful and easy, but it's so easy to overdo it.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I think we got time for maybe one more, because I know these guys got to get back. They got a lot of RVs lined up.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a good one. It says, does Camping World offer RV washes? I hate getting up on the roof. I can understand that. I don't have a fear of heights until it's 13 foot off the ground, and I have less than 8 feet.
Right.
When it's wet.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when it's wet.
It's soapy. Yeah.
Slick. So I've fielded most of the roof questions. So I'll wash your roof. Yeah, absolutely. And we actually have, because our store is a little larger, I think, than most. We have a dedicated wash staff.
Oh, okay.
Actually. But again, that goes with communicating with your store to find out what your store can do. Not all stores have a dedicated wash staff.
Sure.
Right.
So just let us know what you need. If you need your RV washed, if we can do it, we'll do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, some stores don't have quite the facility to do it regularly for people.
Right. So just if you get a chance, check. But more importantly, what you want to do is you want to communicate. When you're managing expectations and you know what's ahead of you, you know what you're bringing to the table, and you know what needs to be done, the process will be a whole lot easier to handle than if you just drop your RV off and say, I need to get something fixed. So Ian Baker, the big dog, Brent, Rick, thank you guys so much for coming and joining us here at the Ultimate Land, Water, and RV Show. We actually got a cooking competition coming up, so why don't y'all hang around for that, and we'll be back with that here in just a second. Hang on.
Camping World is the #1 service and maintenance network in America, and it's your one-stop shop for RV support. And with 170 locations nationwide, we have the largest RV service network in the country. We stand by our work. Anytime you receive service at one of our locations, you drive away with a 12-month workmanship guarantee. Your RV is an investment, and it deserves the very best in care and preventative maintenance. We're here for you. Schedule a service appointment today.